The atmosphere of Lysandra, 9 claws at our hull like a living thing. Through the porthole slits the sky looks wrong, shrieking arcs of amber lightning flicker without thunder, clouds retreating from our descent, as if a wound being forced open. Even the ship's shrines rattle under the pressure. The censers swing on their chains, spilling incense so thick it tastes of iron filings on my tongue. I have been cleared to record, though the file is sealed even to my superiors. My voice sounds small inside the vox mask, like a prayer whispered into an empty reliquary. My orders are simple. Witness, record. Do not interfere unless protocol null is invoked. It is a litany I mouth with every breath. Below decks, the embalmed body of St. Praxedes lies in her adamantine casket. She has been dead 3,000 years. Her bones a rallying point for regiments who will never return. But the Mechanicus Magi, assigned to maintain her reliquary, sent an astropathic pulse 4 nights ago. Heat signatures rising. I have been sent to confirm the impossible. We pass through the outer magnetosphere. The ship groans like a choir out of tune. The decks sweat condensation though the temperature is dropping. In the chapel bay, Sisters Hospitaller kneel in ordered ranks, chanting the 49 benedictions of safe passage. Their voices are low, almost resentful, as though aware the words no longer match the world outside. My boots click across the mosaics of dead saints, each tile a martyr, each tile cracked. Servo skulls drift beside me with clicking quills, recording not just my words but my pulse, my gaze direction, my micro-gestures. I feel them weigh my faith. The reliquary chamber looms ahead, sealed by 3 concentric gates of black iron etched with hexagrammatic wards. Each opens at my clearance sigil, but reluctantly, like a mouth resisting a spoon. Inside the final gate, the air is hot, humid, and carries a sweet rot scent beneath the incense. There she lies, St. Praxedes, wrapped in funeral shroud of gold-threaded vellum, sealed in an adamantine sarcophagus studded with purity seals older than the sector's current governance. Heat shimmer bends the candlelight around her. Auspex runes blink steady red. I glance at the telemetry slate. The numbers are wrong. Core temperature rising by degrees per hour. I blink. Think my eyes have betrayed me. Recalibrate. The readout remains. Organics regenerating. Liver mass increasing. Calcified heart showing fibrillation spikes. I record this in a clipped tone, but my throat is dry. I whisper the protocol of impossible findings and intone the benediction of the witness. To see is to serve is to burn clean. My breath fogs the slate, though the chamber is warmer than blood. Magos Lyris stands opposite, cables rising from his skull like a nest of iron serpents. His mechadendrites tremble as they pass auspex rods over the saint's body. He utters binharic subtones I cannot pass. The sisters do not look at him. Their eyes are locked on the casket, knuckles white around their reliquaries. The ship lurches as if something pressed against its skin. My vox mask crackles with a low sound, like breath, but vast, drawn in around the hull. The lights flicker once, and for an instant all shadows point inward to the casket. I lean closer. The shroud moves. Not the ship's tremor, not displaced air. A slow convulsion under the gold-threaded fabric, deliberate, rising and falling like lungs filling. My stomach drops. My fingers grip the rail hard enough to squeal metal. I taste copper where I've bitten my tongue. Confirming movement, I speak into the vox. Within the first minute of direct observation, subject displays respiration. Magos Lyris lifts one finger, a servo quill scratching sparks across his data slate. The sisters' chant falters. In the pause, I hear a low sigh from beneath the shroud, a voice older than the ship. Words I do not know but feel inside my teeth. I take a step back, instinctive, though the ritual demands approach. The auspex alarm trips, a soft chime repeating 3 times. Temperature up another degree. Heartbeat inversion pattern confirmed. I end the entry with my voice shaking despite training. Movement verified. Anomaly confirmed. awaiting protocol null authorization. The candles gutter inward, as if drawn to her. My last sight before the gate seals itself again, a shape, arm, wing, shifting under the shroud, pressing outward as though testing the weave. Cut log. The gates open for me again, one by one, slower than before. Each warded door exudes heat, and the incense in the antechamber has changed from sweet resin to something like scorched copper. Every inhalation leaves a metallic sting at the back of my throat. I taste prayer gone sour. The reliquary chamber is larger than I remembered, a cathedral inside a hull, columns of black iron climbing to a ceiling lost in smoke. Sensor chains hang from servo winches and swing in perfect circles above the adamantine casket, releasing veils of pale incense that refract the lumen strips into broken halos. I catalogue each detail aloud as required. Seal integrity intact, mosaic floor uncracked, pressure constant but humidity rising. My words echo back at me wrong, a half-second late, as if another voice is rehearsing them in the mist. Choir servitors line the chamber like pale statues. Their mouths are sewn shut but still expel thin notes from vox implants set into their throats. The harmony is constant, a single, unbroken chord pitched just below human hearing. It vibrates my teeth. Beneath that chord, I can feel the other sound, the low pulse under the shroud, like a heart dragging itself upward through earth. Magos Lyris stands at the head of the casket, mechadendrites spread like a steel halo, his robes drawn tight against his frame. He chants the diagnostic litany of the waking saint, each phrase a string of binharic clicks and sibilants overlaid with high Gothic invocations. Data scrolls spit from his cogitator in bursts, each one catching flame at the edges from the heat before curling into ash. He does not stop to read them. A servo skull hovers, projecting the telemetry across its bone-polished forehead. I glance at the projection. Respiration confirmed, 7.3 cycles per minute. But the waveform is reversed. Inhale, mapped as exhale. Exhale as inhale. I cross-check with my own auspex. Same result. My hands are slick with sweat. My vox mask tastes of ozone. The humidity climbs. Candle wax runs like blood. The incense takes on a bitter tang, as though the ship itself is exhaling old rust. I note every change. It is my only defense. Atmospheric composition shifting, I say into the log. Trace ammonia detected, auspex still reading reversed respiration. Heartbeat pattern inverted at 90-degree phase 1 of the sister's hospitaller edges closer to me. Her eyes are wide but unfocused, lips moving silently. I realize she is repeating the saint's litany without sound, like a puppet rehearsing forgotten lines. I ask if she requires extraction. She does not respond. When I blink, she is facing the casket again as if she had never moved. The servitor's chord falters for the first time. Not silence, an inversion. The note flips inside out, becoming a sound like a bell struck underwater. All lumen strips flicker to a sickly green. The Magos mechadendrites freeze mid-gesture. His voice rises, distorted, as though fighting interference from another channel. Protocol null approaches, he rasps. I record every symbol the cogitator projects. Triangular spirals, 9-pointed stars, then a glyph I have never seen. A circle of teeth. It burns my retinas. I blink and see afterimages crawling across the shroud. I step closer to the casket rail, compelled despite training. The shroud lifts slightly with each reversed breath. Drops of condensation form on the inside of the adamantine, but when they run downward they crawl back upward again, like insects. The saint's outline is clearer now, limbs bent in unnatural repose, ribs rising and falling beneath cloth embroidered with 1,000 martyr names. My heart hammers the wrong rhythm in my ears. A sudden hiss. One of the choir servitors spasms. Its vox implant emits a single shriek at a pitch that makes my eyes water. Flames bloom from its mouth with no fuel source, a clean white fire that devours it from within. The smell is not flesh, but parchment burning. In seconds, nothing remains but a mound of grey ash in the servitor's shell of robes. Where its feet stood, a glyph is scorched into the deck plating, the circle of teeth from the cogitator readouts, still glowing faintly red. All other servitors continue their chord as if nothing happened. Magos Lyris freezes. His mechadendrites quiver. "Witness," he says softly, "not to me, but to the saint." His vox grill trembles like a man on the edge of confession. The ash drifts upward, not down, caught by no breeze. I make myself speak, voice raw through the mask. Unexplained combustion of servitor. Glyph manifestation on deck. Protocol escalation recommended. Before I can finish, the lumen strips go black. Only the casket glows, faint and red, pulsing in time with the reversed heartbeat. The glyph on the deck flares brighter, casting teeth shadows up the walls. My auspex spikes, then dies with a pop. A second before the log cuts off, my ears fill with a sound like a vox scream travelling backward, a voice imploding rather than shouting. The air tastes of old blood and copper coins. I drop to one knee and clamp my hands over my ears, but the sound is already inside. Cut log. The emergency order arrived in a burst of binharic static that tasted like ozone in my teeth. 3 seals broke across my data slate, red, then black, then gold, before the words burned onto the screen. Protocol. Null exhumation. Authorized. I read it twice before speaking. My own voice sounded like another man's. Authorization confirmed. Partial exhumation sanctioned by inquisitorial writ. The servitor choir kept its inverted chord. The glyph of teeth still glowed on the deck. The air was thicker now, beads of moisture forming on the inside of my vox mask. I felt them run upward rather than down. Magos Lyris inclined his metal-crowned head. "Witness," he rasped, mechadendrites folding back like wings. He passed me a secondary auspex keyed to the casket's inner seals. I accepted it with trembling fingers, murmuring the benediction of the relic bearer. The words steadied me only a little. I began the sequence in binharic, a tongue of clicks and static that scoured my throat. Each phrase ended in a whispered prayer in High Gothic. Seal 1 disengaged, by the Omnissiah's hand. Click click static. Seal 2 disengaged, by the Emperor's light. Click click static. My voice alternated between machine and man, as though 2 versions of myself were working the lock in parallel. One by one, the adamantine bolts retracted with the groan of mountains moving. Incense smoke poured into the chamber, curling in shapes that suggested spines and wings. The casket's temperature climbed again. My auspex recorded 98.6 at its core. Impossible, human normal. The reversed heartbeat still pulsed, now audibly, a hollow drum echoing through the deck. I spoke to the vox log, not trusting my memory. Partial exhumation in progress. Humidity extreme. Glyph remains active. Servitor ash drifting upward against gravity. All sensors confirm reversed respiration. Magos Lyris began the diagnostic litany anew, but his binharic was slower, broken. Data scrolls spat from his cogitator with the same triangular spiral glyph as before. Over and over, between fragments of code, the same 3 characters appeared. I, X, dash, I, X, dash, I, X. At first, I thought it a checksum. Then the sound began. It started as a faint whisper under the servitor's chord, like an auspex ping slowed to heartbeat rhythm. Ix, Ix, Ix. It matched the saint's pulse exactly. My fingers shook. I tightened my grip on the rail until my gloves squealed. The final seal disengaged with a hiss. Steam escaped, heavy with the smell of an old charnel house overlaid with frankincense. I looked to the Magos for a nod. He gave it, mechadendrites twitching. Together we drew back the upper half of the shroud. It clung to her like wet skin, tearing slightly as it lifted. Beneath lay St. Praxedes, whole where she should have been dust. Her flesh glowed faintly with inner heat. Veins black as oil spread across her arms in filigree patterns that moved when I blinked. Her eyes opened, pupils wide, reflecting not lumen strips but something deeper. Oily colors like the void between stars, shifting and receding. I felt vertigo as though looking down a well. Her lips parted. The air in the chamber dropped 10 degrees. Frost formed on the edges of the casket even as steam rose from her skin. She spoke. Not a scream, not even a whisper. A liturgical phrase, syllables older than this sector, curling through my vox mask as if spoken directly into my inner ear. I recognized fragments from restricted archives, the canticle of ninefold binding, used during the earliest black ships of the heresy era. No one had uttered it aloud in millennia. I tried to repeat it for the log, but my tongue locked. Instead, I whispered a different prayer, the only one I could remember. Emperor, guide my sight. Emperor, shield my mind. My words came out backwards, syllables reversed. The servitor choir's chord deepened, merging with her voice. The glyph on the deck pulsed brighter. Magos Lyris recoiled a fraction, which for him was terror. His mechadendrites clamped to his own chest. Data scrolls poured from his cogitator like entrails. All bore the same pattern, 9-9-9, marching down in columns, interlaced with teeth circles. I spoke into the log, voice shaking, Saint Praxedes conscious. Eyes open, pupils reflecting. Unknown spectra, vocalization recorded. Repeating motif, 9-9-9 detected in machine cant and audio field. The temperature gauge spiked, then reset, then spiked again. My auspex lost calibration. A low hum filled the chamber, no source. The air began to move, though no venting occurred. It felt like breath drawn inward around us. She turned her head, slowly, as if remembering the movement, and looked directly at me. The warp oil pupils dilated further until only black remained. In them I saw stars moving like prey. I stumbled back a step. The shroud slid further off her shoulders of its own accord. Her second phrase came like a verdict. I could not translate it, but every lumen strip dimmed to a bruise-colored glow. My heart tried to match the reversed rhythm and skipped. The servitors' mouths bled thin lines of incense smoke. Then the ship screamed. Not the hull, not metal, but something in the void pressing against us. The Geller field flickered. I felt it like a static ripple across my skin, then like hands brushing my thoughts. The hum became a roar, the sound of breath against a door. Lumen strips went white hot and cut out. For a heartbeat, everything was dark except her eyes. Magos Lyris shouted Binharic override codes. Sparks rained from his mechadendrites. The deck trembled underfoot. I grabbed the rail and forced my voice into the vox. Geller field fluctuation. Warp pressure detected. Breach possible. Her lips curved, not a smile, but recognition. The roar built, then stopped mid-pulse, as if something inhaled just outside the hull and held it. All of us, Magos, sisters, servitors, froze, waiting for the exhale. Quarantine sirens blared across Sanctus Orpheon 3 hours after the saint's eyes opened. Now every deck feels like a lung filled with someone else's breath. Bulkhead seals slammed down in succession, echoing like hammer blows. Lights dim to emergency red. The ship has entered protocol isolation. All crew confined to assigned quarters except me and the Mechanicus contingent. My orders remain the same. Witness, record, do not interfere. The corridors are filled with mist. Not coolant, not steam. It has the color of watered milk and smells faintly of amniotic fluid, sweet and coppery at once. It beads on the lumen strips and runs in threads down the Gothic arches of the hallways, leaving behind pearly trails like snail slime. Each step I take leaves no footprint, but a faint warmth rises from the deck, as though the ship's veins run just beneath the metal. I narrate for the record because silence would crack me. Quarantine imposed. Unknown. Mist seeping through ventilation. Smell amniotic. Trace iron. temperature rising by 3.4 degrees since last log. My voice sounds muffled even in my own ears, as though I'm speaking underwater. The Vox mask tastes of salt. Crew I pass in the sealed corridors show changes. Not obvious wounds, but subtle. Skin paling to parchment, faint grey lines tracing veins under their eyes, lips colourless. One rating raises his sleeve when I call his name. His arm bears lesions like pale coins, bloodless and perfectly round. He says it doesn't hurt. I touch one with a gloved finger and feel only coolness, like touching marble. I add this to the log, my throat tight. The choir servitors have been moved into the secondary shrine. I pass their chamber and stop. Their voices have reversed. The same chord as before, but now running backward, notes sliding down into silence instead of rising. It makes my teeth ache. The sound vibrates the lumen casings and sets the mist into concentric ripples, like a liquid floor. I find Sister Hospitaller Corvina near the inner lock, kneeling in prayer with her hands clasped so tightly the knuckles are blue. Her veil is damp with the mist. I crouch beside her, Vox mask, inches from her ear. "Sister," I say. "For the record, describe what you have witnessed." She does not look at me. Her lips move, but no sound emerges. I prompt her again. At last she turns her head and whispers. When no one looks, her lips move, always moving, as though finishing a prayer left unfinished for centuries. The words slide into the mist and come back changed. Her pupils are dilated to ink, her breath shallow. She makes the sign of the Aquila and closes her eyes. I try to ask more, but her mouth snaps shut like a trap. She begins praying again silently, forehead pressed to the deck. I record this exactly, then step away, heart hammering. I am sleeping less. Every time I close my eyes, I hear the reversed chord and a voice threading through it. Not quite a woman's, not quite machine. It murmurs fragments of the same phrase she spoke in the casket, but inverted, as if folding time back on itself. I wake with the taste of copper and ash. My hands tremble as I make the sign of the Aquila over my chest. Magos Lyris has sealed himself in the reliquary chamber. His mechadendrites snake out under the door like roots seeking water. They twitch when I pass. I hear Binharik clicks from inside, sometimes accompanied by a low moan, sometimes by silence so deep the mist seems to stop moving. I speak again for the log, voice cracking. Crew lesions consistent with unknown contamination. Choir servitors reversing chord. Sister Corvina testifies saints' lips move when unobserved. Personal note, I am experiencing auditory hallucinations during rest cycles. My boots carry me to my assigned data cell. The walls sweat moisture. Icons of the Emperor have begun to flake, leaving negative silhouettes. My Auspex rests on the desk where I left it. The screen should be blank. It is not. 3 characters pulse across the display. IX, IX. I did not input them. No cable runs to the unit. The power switch is off. Still the motif glows, faintly green, in time with the reversed heartbeat echoing in my skull. Each pulse sends a small tremor through the deck, like a muffled knock from below. I reach for the Auspex and it flickers to life fully, running Binharik code I cannot read. The mist thickens around my ankles, climbing. In it I hear the same voice from my sleep, clearer now, murmuring the canticle backwards, syllables sliding like wet stones. I end the entry with my hands shaking so hard, the Vox mask bumps the mic. Auspex activated without command. Display reads IX, IX, IX. Correlation with previous anomaly confirmed. Awaiting next directive. The characters blink once, twice, then hold steady. In the reflection on the screen, my eyes seem darker than before. The corridors of Sanctus Orpheon are no longer metal, but scripture. At first, the marks were faint, hairline etchings like cracks from heat stress. Now entire bulkheads are burned with patterns I do not recognize yet instinctively fear. Each glyph is a coil of ash fused into the plasteel, dark as dried blood and hot. To the touch, though, no flame remains. They repeat in sequences, spirals within spirals, triangles eating triangles. When I run an Auspex sweep, the readings cancel themselves, leaving blank spaces where data should be, like holes torn in paper. I narrate as I walk because the silence between words grows teeth. Inspection ongoing. Glyph patterns burned into bulkheads at intervals of 9 paces. Composition unknown. Temperature variance +6 degrees. No visible ignition source. The amniotic mist from earlier chapters has thickened into a dust that floats like snow but leaves a chalky residue on my gloves. Under magnification, it looks like ground bone, spore fine, each particle a jagged shard. The sisters have taken to chanting in shifts. Their hymns falter when they reach the reliquary chamber. The sound reverses, bleeds into static. Magos Lyris no longer answers my queries. He speaks only in clipped binharic bursts into a handheld vox that smells of ozone. His mechadendrites flicker with tiny arcs of static, like nerves firing under skin. I reach the inner sanctum. The doors are ajar, a violation in itself. Inside, the reliquary is a storm. Incense and bone dust whirl together in spirals that mimic the burned glyphs outside. The casket of St. Praxedes floats a handspan above its dais, purity seals fluttering as if in wind. The candles have burned down to stubs, but the chamber glows with its own faint phosphor, pulsing in rhythm with the reversed heartbeat still echoing through my skull. I force myself to speak for the log, subject levitating during litanies. Atmosphere saturated with particulate bone dust. Glyphs match movement of airborne particles. Hypothesis. Phenomenon not random. I switch into binharic to read the telemetry, and immediately regret it. The machine spirit answers back in a slow, deliberate code I've never seen, ending each burst with IX, IX. My tongue feels scalded from the clicks. I revert to High Gothic and whisper the benediction of the witness just to hear my own voice in a human cadence. One sister kneels at the casket, eyes rolled back, murmuring a prayer that isn't ours. When I bend close, I realize she's reciting an anti-warp canticle from pre-imperial archives, a rite I've only seen in sealed Mechanicus hexagrams. She shouldn't know it. She shouldn't be alive to speak it. My breath fogs the Auspex in my hands, though the chamber is warm. I check the data feed from Magos Lyris's cogitator. Every metric of the anomaly, pulse rate, temperature, ambient hum, aligns not with ecclesiarchal miracle patterns, but with the banned schematics of the ninefold null, an anti-warp anchor ritual abandoned before the Great Crusade. I whisper for the record, partial twist confirmed. Subject's manifestations mirror pre-imperial anti-warp rite, not sanctioned doctrine, implications classified. The saint's body rises a little higher with each reverse chant from the servitors. Her shroud slides off entirely, revealing skin carved with the same glyphs burning the bulkheads. Veins of black oil pulse under her flesh in time with 999. Her eyes are open, but unfocused, lips moving silently. Each exhalation releases more bone dust spores into the air, settling on my gloves, my vox mask, my very breath. My Auspex trembles in my hand. Readings jump from 0 to infinite, then freeze at 9-9-9. I try to reset it, but the buttons depress themselves, cycling through diagnostics I did not initiate. I switch to manual mode. It locks. The display glows faintly green, pulsing like a heartbeat. The candles gutter inward. The glow from the casket intensifies until the shadows of the glyphs stretch across the ceiling like claws. Magos Lyris shouts a code in binharic, a command string of nullification. Instead of ceasing, the casket hum rises an octave, and the entire chamber vibrates as though the ship is a bell. I describe what I see for the record, voice shaking but steady, reliquary generating self-contained field. energy signatures unknown. Cross-checking with hexagrammatic wards, all readings converging on the casket. Then the lights go out. For a moment, only the casket glows, suspended in mid-air, purity seals snapping like flags. The glyphs on the walls ignite with a dull red light, matching the patterns in the saint's flesh. The bone dust lifts from the deck, spiraling upward as though gravity reversed. Every lumen and power indicator on my auspex dies. My vox mask hisses static. Then a single line of text appears on the display in the same green glow. IX, IX. I look up just as the reliquary doors slam shut of their own accord, seals clamping like jaws. The sound reverberates through the hull. A deep vibration thrums under my boots. All power on the deck rerouted. The servitors fall silent mid-chord. The mist stops moving as if held in a jar. Somewhere inside the casket, a low sound begins. Not quite a breath, not quite a roar. I break protocol and slip into present tense because everything happens too fast to catalogue. The reliquary chamber breathes around me. The walls seem to flex with each reversed heartbeat. My hands tremble, but I keep the mic open. Shipboard chants, once steady and low, now pour backward through the voxcasters. Words sucked in instead of expelled. Notes slide down into silence like water retreating from a drain. Each reverse syllable feels like a hook in my inner ear. I stagger but force myself to narrate. Chants reversed. Entire ship's vox system playing liturgies backward. The servitor choir stands motionless, mouths stitched but still expelling vapor like exhaled prayer. Their implanted speakers spit static and fragments of machine cant. IX, IX, between bursts of noise. I switch to Binharic, trying to query the ship's cogitators, but the replies return inverted, a mirror code of my own question. Every click I utter comes back as a hiss. Astropaths in their cloister scream. I glimpse them through a porthole in the inner corridor. Pale figures convulsing on their couches, vomit of molten silver spilling from their mouths and eyes. Their skin glows faintly, as though lit from beneath. No medical personnel dare cross the mist to reach them. I try to send a distress code. This is Junior Observator Dalthus Quirin, Ordo Hereticus aboard Sanctus Orpheon, requesting immediate. The words in my headset emerge reversed. Emitade E. Gnitsuker, Nepokros, Sitgnus, Drauba, Sukitage, Ordo, Niriu Q, Sutla Q, Rotavresbio, Roinu J, C, CT. Hearing my own plea backward turns my stomach. My tongue feels heavy with ash. I stop transmitting. Through a porthole slit, the storm below has changed. Lysandra Ninth's clouds have formed into a colossal halo, bone white and perfectly symmetrical, circling the planet's dead equator. Lightning flickers inward, not outward, like veins feeding a heart. I record this, but my voice trembles. Inside the reliquary, the casket hum rises again, deeper than sound, a vibration in bone. Candles have gone out, but the air glows with its own dim phosphor. Bone dust spores swirl in patterns that echo the glyphs on the walls. Each time I blink, the glyphs shift, spelling I, X, I, X, I, X, I, X in new configurations. I move closer, compelled. My auspex flickers with green light, though I have powered it down. It displays a rolling code of my own vitals inverted. Pulse counted backward, breaths counted inward. I grip it to stop my hands shaking, but the device vibrates like a living heart. Magos Lyris kneels beside the casket, mechadendrites clamped to his skull. His Binharic mutters devolve into guttural moans. He stares at the saint as though seeing a diagram he cannot solve. Sparks leap from his implants to the deck, scorching new teeth-shaped glyphs. I speak for the record between gasps. Astropaths compromised. Vomiting silver fluid. Distress signal reversed over comms. Atmospheric phenomenon. Halo storm forming over Lysandra 9. Casket hum intensifying. Mechadendrites unstable. The mist thickens. Each breath tastes of salt and copper, like breathing blood through water. My vox mask filters clog with bone dust, but I dare not remove it. The reversed hymns climb in pitch until they become a single ringing note. The deck vibrates in rhythm, my teeth chatter, then silence. Absolute, impossible. The casket trembles. Purity seals lift and shred themselves in slow motion, parchment curling upward like burning paper though there is no flame. The bone dust spores rise, spiraling around the sarcophagus in a slow, deliberate dance. I try to step back, but my boots stick to the deck as if held by unseen hands. The auspex slips from my grasp and lands upright, still glowing green. On its display, my name scrolls backward and forward, alternating with 9-9-9. She rises. St. Praxedes lifts from the casket as though drawn upward by invisible cords. Her eyes are blank. No pupils, no whites, only an oil-black sheen that reflects nothing. Bone dust pours from her mouth with each reversed breath. Her arms extend slightly, palms outward, a parody of benediction. Her lips move. At first, no sound, then a whisper, thin as a blade sliding into paper. She says my name, not reversed, not distorted. My name as I would speak it myself, intimate and precise. The mist surges upward, swallowing the lumen strips. The halo storm outside the porthole flares bone white. My heart stops for a beat, trying to match the rhythm. I feel her voice inside my skull like a hand closing over a candle. The reliquary glows like a wound cauterizing itself. St. Praxedes still floats above the casket, eyes black, lips moving in silent benedictions I dare not translate. Every pulse of the 9-9-9 motif through the decks pushes me closer to confession. I need facts. Without them, I will dissolve into her ritual like bone dust in mist. I retreat to the data crypt 2 decks below. Doors hiss open to reveal racks of cogitators, older than the ship itself, their brass keys etched with teeth-shaped glyphs. The mist does not reach here. The air is dry and cold, smelling of iron filings and candle wax. My fingers shake as I patch into the Ordo's hidden archive, whispering the benediction of keys with each command. Binharic clicks scald my tongue. Files unlock in bursts of static. I see fragments of a trial transcript, sealed 3 millennia. Praxedes, then merely Magistra Praxia Draven, stands before an inquisitorial tribunal, accused of unsanctioned warp anchoring by use of living flesh. Not a martyr, not even a saint. An executed heretic whose work the Ordo feared and coveted. I narrate for the record, voice flat but trembling. Archive reveals subject was condemned for experimentation with warp containment using human anchors. Sentence recorded as termination. Body designated for total incineration. My breath fogs the cogitator screen, though the room is cold. More fragments spool out, diagrams of the 9-fold null, identical to the glyphs burning my ship's bulkheads. Not ecclesiarchal miracle, but pre-imperial anti-warp technology grafted onto flesh. Her sainthood, nothing but a cover story, a reliquary weapon hidden in plain sight, paraded from shrine world to shrine world like a walking ward. I whisper this, but the words feel heavy, disloyal. The ritual carved into Sanctus Orpheon mirrors her final experiment exactly. 9 concentric anchor points, choir servitors as harmonic stabilizers, astropaths as resonance wells. We are inside a weapon disguised as a hospital barge, and I, the junior observer, am the only unbound node left. I switch to Binharic to pull the last file, but it resists, spitting my own questions back reversed. I slam my palm on the brass key and hiss a curse. The screen flickers, then stabilizes into a single image, Praxedes' execution mask, the same one I glimpsed on my reflection in the Hive Cathedral vision. Under it, a single phrase scrolls. Experiment incomplete. Anchor required. I whisper for the log. Partial twist confirmed. Subject attempting completion of experiment through self-reconstitution. All personnel unknowingly integrated into ritual structure. My pulse is a drum in my ears. Above, the reversed hymns rise to a shriek. The deck vibrates under my boots. Dust rains from the ceiling of the data crypt. Not bone, but salt. Through a porthole slit, I see the halo storm over Lysandra. 9 tightening, bone-white clouds coiling inward like muscle fibers contracting. Lightning flickers in rhythmic bursts. 9, then 9 again, then 9 again. I try the comms. This is Quirin, requesting immediate extraction. My words return inverted, layered with her voice. Anchor. Required. I drop the mic. Margos Lyris bursts into the crypt, mechadendrites sparking. His face is pale beneath metal graphs. She is finishing it, he gasps, Binharik slurring with panic. We are the nodes. You are the spine. Before I can ask, he turns and flees back toward the reliquary, robes snapping like torn wings. I glance at the auspex in my hand. It shows our orbit degrading, thrusters firing without command. We are being pulled by something uncharted beneath Lysandra 9's clouds, a gravitational well, not in any star chart. Numbers scroll backward, altitude decreasing in 9-kilometer increments. I speak for the record, even as the deck tilts underfoot. Ship breaking orbit. Unknown gravitational pull toward Lysandra 9. No helm input registered. All systems responding to external command. Geller field fluctuating. I try to brace as the crypt lights flicker, screens sparking. The mist pushes under the doors like fingers. The cogitator shuts itself off, leaving only my reflection in the black glass. My eyes darker than before, lips moving in silence just as the saints do. Above, a low roar builds, like the warp drawing a breath. The deck tilts harder, gravity shifts sideways. The halo storm fills the porthole entirely, a bone-white iris closing over us. Impact is not a sound but a prayer torn apart. One moment, Sanctus Orpheon is a cathedral in orbit. The next, it is a falling reliquary wrapped in fire. Gravity pulls sideways, then downward, then inward. Bulkheads groan like dying animals. My harness snaps. I tumble through darkness, hitting metal ribs hard enough to bite my tongue. The Vox mask fills with blood and static. The 9-9-9 motif thunders through my skull like an execution drum. Then stillness. Smoke. Alarms shrieking backward like birds flying in reverse. The casket's hum vibrates through the wreckage as though it survived whole. I unclip the emergency lumen and crawl. Deck plates are tilted at impossible angles, forming slopes of torn steel. Red mist seeps from ruptured conduits, tasting of salt and copper. I narrate for the log in gasps. Crash landing confirmed. Structural integrity compromised. Attempting egress A. Jagged tear in the hull opens onto a sky I should not be breathing. Lysandra 9 is not clouds but ash. A storm of grey particles whirls in vast gyres across a horizon of bone-white towers, some floating upside down like stalactites. Lightning cracks upward from ground to sky. The air is hot and dry but carries the scent of incense and old iron. Gravity pulses. One moment my boots sink into dust. The next I'm light as smoke, hands clawing for grip. I drag myself through the breach. Behind me, the hospital barge burns like a fallen shrine, its spires embedded in the plane at impossible angles, glyph light still crawling across the hull. The reliquary chamber lies somewhere in the wreckage, humming, unbroken. The saint is gone. I feel her absence like a missing heartbeat. Shapes move among the debris. Survivors, sisters, crew, a few servitors dragging themselves by metal arms. They do not cry out. They do not even look at me. They stand in ragged lines, eyes clouded white, lips moving in perfect unison. I edge closer, Vox mask hissing. They speak as one. Not a shout, not even a whisper, but a murmur like wind through bone pipes. 9-9-9. Every third beat a phrase in the pre-imperial canticle Praxides spoke in the casket. Their skin is dusted grey, lesions perfectly round and bloodless. One raises a hand in benediction. The fingers crumble into ash without pain. I record every detail, though my own voice is trembling. Statues dot the plain, giant effigies of saints, angels, martyrs. At first stone, then metal, then something between. As the ash storm swirls, rust begins to seep from their eyes, thick and slow like blood. I look up at one carved in Praxides' likeness, mouth open in a scream. Rust tears streak its cheeks. My stomach turns. I stumble toward the nearest bone-white tower for cover. Each step crunches on fragments of something brittle. Under my glove it is not stone, but calcified parchment etched with glyphs. The storm rips it from my hand and scatters it like snow. Above, towers hang upside down, anchored by nothing, their bases dripping bone dust like hourglass sand. Gravity flips in pockets. Debris floats, then slams back down. I switch to Binharic out of habit, querying the Auspex. It flickers, displaying maps that fold in on themselves, corridors looping into non-space. Altitude reading, below sea level, though no sea exists. Temperature, alternating between fever hot and tomb cold. The screen pulses green with IXIXIX. A sister stumbles out of the mist toward me, lips blue, eyes clouded. She collapses at my feet. I kneel, glove on her shoulder. She seizes my wrist with surprising strength and breathes a phrase in the canticle directly into my vox mask. Her breath is ice. Then she goes still. Ash pours from her mouth and she crumbles like burnt paper, leaving only her rosary in my hand. I whisper for the record. Survivors exhibiting collective speech. Ash lesions progressing to total disintegration. Environment impossible. Inverted towers, ash storms, gravity anomalies. Suspect planetary surface is extension of relic phenomenon. Lightning flares again. In it I see the cathedral hive ahead, its spires bent inward like a jaw. The structure glows faintly from within. Windows pulsing with the same green light as my Auspex. Bells toll in the distance, low and resonant, though no such bells exist on Lysandra 9. Each peal makes the ash jump as if in applause. I crawl behind a slab of hull plating for shelter. The storm roars around me, but the bells are louder. A rhythm of 9 beats, then silence. My Auspex vibrates in my hand, self-activating. Across the screen scroll words I have not typed, anchor required. Then it resets to 9-9-9. I lift my head. The bells toll again, closer this time. Statues bow slightly, though there is no wind. The survivors stop murmuring and turn their blank eyes toward the cathedral hive. Their lips form my name. The cathedral hive swallows me whole. Its mouth is a collapsed archway carved with 9 concentric sigils, each glowing faintly green under the ash storm. The bells toll again, low and resonant, vibrating the dust off my vox mask. The moment I step inside, the sound changes, less like bells, more like ribs, struck from within. I whisper for the record, breath fogging. Entered primary sanctum. Structure appears larger inside than exterior dimensions allow, air density rising. Light is thin here, filtered through bone glass windows depicting martyrdoms I do not recognize. The mist has thickened into streams of bone dust, sliding along the floor, moving as if guided. Between each breath, I can hear the distant IXIXIX motif, not as a sound, but as a heartbeat pressing against my skull. My own pulse begins to fall in step with it. Each beat feels heavier, as though something is borrowing my blood. Down the nave stretch rows upon rows of reliquary boxes, thousands, stacked to the vaults like a city of tombs. Each box bears a name burned away by time. As I approach, seals snap open with soft pops like knuckles cracking. Lids rise without hands. Inside are skeletal fragments, finger bones, jaw bones, ribs. They do not lie still. They crawl. I crouch, recording. Reliquary boxes opening simultaneously. Skeletal remains exhibiting autonomous movement, crawling, clustering. The fragments scuttle across the flagstones like pale insects, clicking faintly. Some climb the pillars, arranging themselves into spirals mirroring the glyphs burned into Sanctus Orpheon. Others crawl toward the nave's center, where a faint green glow pulses. There, half-formed, moves St. Praxedes. Her body is no longer corpse, but not yet whole. Flesh knits and unknits across her frame. Bones visible one moment, covered in black-veined muscle the next. The glyphs carved into her skin writhe as if written in living ink. She glides deeper into the sanctum, feet not touching the floor, the bone fragments swarming after her, like pilgrims. Each step she takes makes the windows darken, as if night is spreading inward. I switch to Binharik, trying to record telemetry, but my clicks come back inverted. The cogitator in my auspex displays my vitals reversed. Heart rate counting down instead of up, breaths measured in negative numbers. I murmur the benediction of the witness just to feel my tongue move. It emerges backwards. My pulse thuds once, twice, then locks into the 999 rhythm. I feel it through my veins like cold mercury. My fingers tingle. I stumble after her, compelled. The nave stretches impossibly long, each step taking me further but the altar no closer. Above, the ceiling disappears into a dark that looks like water. Bone dust streams upward into it, not falling back. My voice trembles. Subject drawing power from reliquary fragments. Environmental space expanding non-Euclidean. Personal vitals syncing with IX motif. Possible integration into ritual. Statues line the walls, their faces different now, carved into screaming masks. Rust tears run from their eyes, dripping onto the crawling bones below. The smell is a blend of incense and ossuary, sweet and rancid. My vox mask filters clog, but I dare not remove it. Each breath tastes of copper coins. I pause at a cracked shrine to steady myself. Its icon has been defaced. No saint, only an execution mask carved in relief. The glass over it is fractured into 9 wedges. In the shards, I glimpse my reflection, not my own face. I am wearing Praxedes' execution mask. I stagger back, heartbeat hammering in the wrong rhythm. The reflection persists, though my hands touch my bare vox mask. In the shards, my eyes are black, lips moving silently in time with hers deeper in the sanctum. For a moment I feel her voice inside my chest, like a second set of lungs inflating. The bone fragments pause as if listening. I whisper hoarsely for the log. Reflection anomaly. Apparition of execution mask on self. Possible psychic contamination. My own voice sounds distant, layered with another tone. Hers. The bells toll again. Louder, though no bell hangs in this cathedral. The reliquary boxes slam shut as one, trapping only dust. Praxedes stops at the altar's edge, half-formed body haloed by bone dust spirals. She tilts her head, sensing me. My pulse locks into 999 so tightly it hurts. In the cracked shrine glass, the masked version of me smiles. The nave stretches forever. Every step deeper into the hive cathedral peels another layer off my senses. My vox mask tastes of rust. The air is thick with bone dust and reversed hymns. St. Praxedes glides ahead, half-formed, gathering relic fragments like a tide. Each time she moves, the windows darken and the statues lean inward. I glance at my hands and freeze. My skin is flaking, not blood, not ash, but scripture. Tiny black letters form on each sloughed fragment, curling prayers I cannot read. They drift upward in the gravityless pockets, twirling like dead moths. I brush at them. More rise. My name begins to appear between the lines. I record in a hoarse whisper. Skin shedding into scriptural flakes. Unknown language. Contamination advancing my vox implants, once silent, begin to pick up something beneath the reversed hymns. A whisper from the Imperium. Not words, but impressions. Corridors of bone, hearts beating in sequence, an organ the size of a city exhaling. The sound vibrates my teeth. Every time I blink, I see after-images of bone pipes pulsing in green light. The auspex on my belt vibrates without power. Its screen flickers with 2 icons. a red sigil of self-immolation protocol, and a green spiral marked witness, a moral hinge point. The Ordo drilled it into us: destroy contaminated relics, burn the evidence, martyr yourself if necessary. My thumb hovers over the red sigil. I watch Praxedes. Her body is almost whole now, the glyphs on her skin glowing with each reversed beat. The bone fragments around her are assembling into columns and arches, building something. I realize she is constructing the ritual organ, the anchor to hold the warp at bay. If she succeeds, it could seal the breach forever, or tear it wider. I speak into the log, voice shaking. Decision point: initiate self-immolation protocol, or follow subject to observe completion. Hypothesis: knowledge may allow containment if extracted. My finger trembles over the red sigil. A whisper threads through my vox implants, not hers but mine, reversed. Anchor required. Witness. My heart beats 9-9-9. I lower my thumb. I will follow, I say aloud, recording for containment purposes. The words feel like betrayal and relief at once. The auspex glows green. The flakes of scripture rising from my skin swirl into a spiral and vanish toward the altar. We descend a staircase that wasn't there before, steps of bone lined with rusting reliquaries. Gravity flips twice. We walk on the ceiling, then the wall, then the floor again. The reversed hymns grow louder, blending into a single drone. My breath fogs though the air is warm. At the bottom waits the organ. It is colossal, filling the sanctum like a living cathedral. Pipes of bone rise hundreds of meters, each ribbed with veins that pulse faint green. Flayed skins hang like banners, inscribed with glyphs. Where the keyboard should be, stand rows of living saints, or what remains of them, fused into the console, mouths open, eyes blank. Each exhalation sends a tremor through the pipes. The smell is salt and incense and old marrow. Praxedes approaches the console. The reliquary fragments swirl around her, embedding themselves into the pipes, sealing joints with calcified clicks. She raises her hands, palms outward, glyphs burning. The saints shudder. A deep inhalation fills the chamber, not air, but potential. I stagger forward, narrating through a dry throat. Structure identified. Organ composed of bone pipes and living. Saint subject preparing to initiate ritual performance. Environmental stability uncertain. Contamination advancing. Dermal script now covering arms and neck. Vox implants receiving continuous whispering from Imperium. The whisper sharpens. I understand fragments now. Numbers, coordinates, the shape of containment folded 9 times. It draws me closer like a hymn I once knew as a child. My skin itches. More flakes rise, words curling off like smoke. In the reflection of a polished bone pipe, I glimpse the execution mask again, fitting itself over my features like a second face. Praxedes lowers her hands. The organ begins to play itself. Not sound, but sensation. A chord struck across my nerves. Bone pipes expand and contract like lungs. The fused saints open their mouths wider, exhaling reversed hymns that vibrate the floor. Each note births a pattern of green light across the ceiling like constellations being rewritten. My heart locks fully into 9-9-9, each beat a hammer. I whisper into the log, voice almost gone. Ritual commenced. Organ playing itself using living saints. Subject acting as conductor. Personal contamination extreme. My fingers shake, but I keep the mic open. The chord deepens, echoing through the hive cathedral, through me, through the planet. Dust rises in columns, statues bow. The impossible bells toll again, their sound now a counterpoint to the organ's breath. Praxedes turns her head slightly, black eyes finding me across the sanctum. Her lips shape a word I cannot hear. The organ swells. Bone pipes bend like reeds in a gale. The living saints shudder as one. Light flares green, then black. We have reached the heart. No nave, no stair, only descent through a throat of bone and steel, into a single vast chamber, whose walls pulse like the inside of a lung. My auspex trembles in my grip, the screen flickering between null readings and IX. The whispering from the Imperium is constant now, threading between my thoughts like hairline cracks. My voice comes out in gasps. Primary anomaly located. Machine cathedral, built from Praxides' earlier victims. Structure alive. The organ rises before me like a continent. Pipes of fused vertebrae and iron ribs climb hundreds of meters into a vault lost in mist. Between them are lattices of skin and chain, inscriptions moving like liquid across their surfaces. Where consoles should be, there are bodies, the remnants of soldiers, priests, and magi. I recognize from archival portraits, suspended upright, arms outstretched, veins black and glowing, faces slack. Each breath they exhale drives a cord through the pipes. Praxides stands at the center, no longer half-formed but terrible in wholeness. Her skin is veined with burning glyphs, her black eyes reflect nothing. With each gesture of her hands, the organ's pipes shift and flare, releasing a sound that isn't sound but a pulse across the fabric of the chamber. When a chord strikes, reality shudders. The warp's pressure recedes for a heartbeat, then surges back doubled. I feel it in my marrow, a tide pulling at my soul. I force myself to narrate, though my teeth chatter. Each chord reshapes local reality. Warp breach closes for 0.7 seconds, then widens to double. Pattern repeating. Subject appears to be adjusting, searching for correct harmonic. My hands tremble, fingers elongating, nails thickening into black claws. The scripture flaking from my skin now curls into small sigils before disintegrating. I record through clenched teeth. Physical contamination advancing. Hands, claws forming, still recording for inquisitorial review. The organ swells with another chord. Bone dust rises in pillars. Statues in the alcoves open their mouths and scream silently. Gravity flips twice. We are weightless for a heartbeat, then slammed back down. I catch myself on a railing of vertebrae warm to the touch, pulsing like a vein. My auspex rattles. Its green glow shows diagrams of the organ overlaid with coordinates far outside this sector. The whisper from my vox implants resolves into words. Anchor required. Witness. Behind it, another voice, distant but familiar, murmurs a child's prayer. I haven't spoken since before my ordination. I press my palms to my ears, but the claws scrape metal. Praxides raises both arms. The living console of victims arches its backs, exhaling in unison. The pipes flare green-black. A shockwave ripples outward. The walls stretch like skin on a drum. For a heartbeat, everything is clear. Warp currents flatten, the Imperium silent. Then the backlash. The breach yawns wider, a howl without sound. The chamber strobing between here and somewhere else. Stars shift overhead in constellations I don't know. I stagger, voice a ragged whisper. Containment attempt failing. Each chord temporary, backlash severe, sector-level anomaly likely. My claws dig into the railing, gouging marks. The flakes of scripture rising from me are now shaped like teeth. She turns. Praxides pivots slowly, robes of ash swirling, black eyes fixed on me. The living saints shudder as though in anticipation. The chord fades into a low hum. Bone pipes bend inward like reeds bowing to her will. She steps toward me across the pulsing floor. I want to speak, but my throat locks. The auspex vibrates violently, green light spilling from its seams. Across the screen scrolls a single word. Witness. Praxides stops a few paces away. Her gaze pierces through my vox mask. The whisper from the Imperium cuts off, leaving a silence heavier than sound. She opens her mouth, and she says my true name. Not Dolthus Quirin, not the designation on my orders. The name from before ordination, before records. A name I never told anyone, a name buried in sealed baptismal data. Hearing it inside the hive's heart is like having the floor drop away. The organ's pipes flare, green fire racing up their lengths. My claws dig into the railing, hard enough to draw black fluid. My pulse stops, then resumes in the 999 rhythm. Her voice, my true name spoken aloud, is still echoing in my skull when the whispering from the Imperium returns, this time braided with her tone. The organ's pipes sway like a forest in slow wind, each ribbed column breathing. The living saints fuse to the console strain against their bindings, exhaling a single reversed chord that rattles my teeth. I try to speak for the record, but my throat locks. Scripture flakes lift from my skin in a steady stream, curling into runes mid-air before dissolving. My claws tremble around the auspex. Its display is a field of green spirals, overlaid with the single word, witness. Praexides steps closer. Her black eyes hold no reflection, only depth, an oil void into which the organ's glow pours and does not return. Her lips part. The reversed chord falls silent. In the stillness she speaks, voice low but filling every corner of the hive. You are the spine I left undone. Each syllable is a nail driven into my thoughts. She raises one arm, glyphs on her flesh flaring brighter, and gestures at the organ. Bone pipes shudder. A new sound emerges, not a chord but a pulse like a heartbeat made of iron. The floor quivers beneath me. I force a whisper into the vox. Subject verbalizing intent. State's observer is spine left undone. Hypothesis. Living anchor required to lock warp breach. She moves her hand. Images flood my vision, not hallucinations, but vistas overlaid on reality. I see the original experiment 3 millennia ago. Praxia Draven standing before a smaller organ, victims bound in rings, the warp seething overhead. I see her execution, her body sealed in an adamantine casket, the ritual incomplete. I see the Ordo passing her from shrine to shrine, gathering faith and flesh like fuel. And I see myself, boarding Sanctus Orpheon, a junior observer with the right bloodlines and latent null trace, the final component. You were chosen before you were born, she says, and though her lips barely move, the words arrive inside my head, perfect and cold. Around us, the warp manifests as a void sea rising from the altar. Not smoke, not water, a skin of night that reflects no light, creeping across the flagstones, swallowing the bone dust spirals. Where it touches the organ's pipes, they pulse with green fire. Gravity shifts. My boots lift an inch from the floor, then settle again. I speak for the log in ragged bursts. Warp intrusion, manifesting as void sea around altar. Subject indicates long-term grooming of observer for anchor roll. Visual overlay of multiple timelines. Because I see them now, all timelines laid bare like ribs. One in which I comply, stepping forward, becoming the second spine, the organ stabilizing, the warp sealed for a heartbeat of centuries at the cost of my body and name. Another in which I refuse, trigger self-immolation, the barge and cathedral, consumed in green fire, the breach widening beyond the sector, and others still, fractal branches of failure and half-containment, my face wearing the execution mask in each. Each choice feels real. Each heartbeat is another I, X, hammered into my chest. My claws dig into the auspex. Green light bleeds between my fingers. Praexides stands at the altar's edge, void sea lapping at her ankles, glyphs blazing. The living saints of the organ tilt their heads back, mouths open, awaiting a new chord. She extends her right hand toward me. Blood drips from her palm, not red, but black-green, shimmering like oil. Come, she says softly. Be the witness and the spine. Close what cannot be closed. The void sea rises higher, touching my boots. Cold seeps through the plasteel soles like liquid glass. My skin flakes faster, scripture streaming upward into the dark. My breath fogs inside the vox mask, though the air is warm. The auspex pulses one last time and dies. I try to move, but my body is caught between timelines. In one I step forward. In another, I draw my sidearm. In another, I scream. All converge on this moment. I whisper for the record, voice breaking. Moral decision imminent, subject offering integration. All timelines visible. Personal contamination, critical praexides takes one more step. Her eyes are bottomless. She holds out her blood-stained hand, palm up, fingers slightly curled, waiting. I draw in a breath that tastes of iron and salt. Her hand is colder than void and hotter than blood, and yet when I touch it, my claws melt back into fingers, the scripture flaking from my skin, igniting mid-air like moths in a flame. Contact is fusion. Her palm seals against mine, glyphs from her flesh rising like living tattoos and crossing onto mine, merging until we are a single sigil written in two bodies. The organ of bone pipes shudders as though a chord had been struck across the marrow of the world. I feel her heartbeat, and it is mine. I feel mine, and it is hers. Both locked into I-X, I-X, I-X. No word emerges from my mouth, but the litany flows out of my bones in reversed syllables. The void sea around the altar climbs our ankles, and the cold is a blade sliding upward. She draws me forward to the console where the living saints wait, their mouths open in silent screams, their eyes rolled back to white. I do not walk but glide, my boots no longer touch the flagstones. Our joined hands burn a line of green fire between us. The whispering from the Imperium becomes a single note, then a pulse, then a map of light over my closed lids. I see the geometry of the ritual, like a cathedral made of numbers and living flesh. Each beam and arch a heartbeat, each joint a prayer. Together, we begin to move our hands in mirrored arcs, her glyphs bright, mine bleeding black-green oil. The organ inhales, the living saints exhale, bone pipes swell and constrict. Every chord reshapes the hive around us, closing the warp for a heartbeat, then opening it wider. I smell salt and iron and burnt parchment. My skin splits and the glyphs inside shine through. Her voice moves through me, guiding, adjusting, a rhythm of 9 beats, then a pause. The void sea rises to our waists, thick and cold, but it holds us up as if we are standing on lungs filled with night. In fever-bright fragments, I see the ritual's history, the first experiment, the execution, the millennia of transit gathering faith like static, and now this moment of final anchoring. I see myself as a child, marked by hands I never saw. I see all timelines, each a thread running through my fingers, some fraying, some burning. In one I pull back, self-immolation. In another I step deeper, losing my name. In another the breach widens and worlds fall. All converge into this single IX, IX, IX pulse. We reach the final movement. Our arms form an arc. Our palms press together over the altar. The organ exhales a blast of green light, and the void sea convulses. Gravity flips outward, dragging the bone towers down from the ceiling, folding the hive inside out. I feel every victim's breath flow through me, every chord a scream through the marrow of my spine. She tilts her head, black eyes locked on mine, and I know we are about to close the breach or be unmade. We speak the last reversed canticle together. The geometry reverses. The anchor twists inward. Warp energies implode. A soundless detonation blossoms between us, not fire but frozen light, a halo of stillness expanding faster than thought. The hive shudders and begins to sink into the void sea as though pulled through a hole in reality. The organ's pipes bend, splinter, and refuse into spirals of bone. Living saints collapse inward, their mouths still open but silent now, their bodies turning to grey glass. Her fingers tighten around mine. My body fuses with her relic flesh, ribs locking to ribs, veins to veins, our two spines twining into one. The frozen light spreads from our feet to our chests, a cold so complete it burns. My vision fractures into shards. The altar, the organ, the inverted towers falling, the sky of bone dust curling into a funnel. The reversed hymns stop. For a heartbeat there is no sound, only pressure and light. I try to speak into the vox, but my voice is inside the light now, dissolving into the canticle. She leans closer, our joined faces inches apart, her breath a ghost on my cheek. In the frozen light, her black eyes change. Colour seeps back into them like dawn through frost. Pupils shrink, whites return. She looks at me not as an anchor, not as a weapon, but as a man. Tears well, human and salt, cutting tracks down her cheeks. My last sight of reality before the light closes is those eyes, entirely human, weeping. I draw in a breath that tastes of iron and ash as the frozen light swallows everything. Begin recovered Vox transcript, Ordo Hereticus Kill Team, Omega 9. Timestamp redacted, clearance Sigma Obscura. Static. Then, a low male, voice, clipped, disciplined. This is Interrogator Hest Varn reporting. Surface coordinates match the last transmission from Hospital Barge Sanctus Orpheon. We are setting down now. The shuttle rattles in the ash wind. All sensors show null life signs within a 10-kilometer radius. The storm is bone grey and smells of burnt parchment. Gravimetric anomalies still pulse at 9-beat intervals but are diminishing. We disembark. Ash crunches under boots. The plain ahead is a crater, vast and smooth, like glass, poured and cooled. At its centre sits a single black casket the size of a sarcophagus, upright, humming faintly. No other structure remains. The cathedral hive of St. Praxedes is gone. No debris, no bodies, only this. I order perimeter sweep. Squad replies in unison, voices muffled by rebreathers. The hum from the casket grows louder as we approach, a rhythm of 999 under the wind. I switch to internal vox and record. Partial containment suspected. Object resembles adamantine reliquary, but surface reading off the scale. No visible seals. Temperature at contact point. Cold enough to frost metal, but emitting low-grade radiation in null spectrum. The crater walls slope inward at impossible angles. Our boots leave no prints. Ash flows back into place as if erasing us. We circle the casket. No inscriptions. Only smooth black metal that seems to drink the light. I order Magos Attaché Reel to scan. His mechadendrites hiss as they extend. He utters binharic queries. The casket answers with a pulse. Telemetry fills his visor with green spirals, then blanks. He falls to one knee, murmuring coordinates under his breath. We pull him back. His eyes are rolled white, but tears leak down his cheeks, silver like quicksilver. He gasps. Anchor remains. Witness remains. Saint asleep. The rest is a sob. We inject counterstims. His vitals stabilize, but he no longer speaks. I approach the casket myself. The hum resonates in my ribs. I feel it press against my heartbeat, trying to set the rhythm. I, X, I, X, I, X, I, X. I lay a gloved palm against the surface. It is colder than void, yet beneath the chill there is a slow pulse like a sleeping vein. Static fills my vox. Then a voice, not external, internal. Junior Observator Dalthus Quirin. His tones recorded but hollow, stretched, reciting containment prayers I recognize from sealed training texts. Emperor bind the breach. Emperor bind the anchor. Emperor seal the ninefold void. The words loop backward, then forward, like a tide. Between them a second, softer voice murmurs. Female. Untranslated. A lullaby. I step back. The squad exchanges glances. They do not hear it. Only I. I order recorders active. We capture only the hum. No voices, no pulses. I try to open the casket. My gauntlet slides off the surface as though repelled by oil. No seams, no hinges. Magos Attaché tries a cutting beam. The beam disperses into frost before touching. Sensors show energy rerouting into the crater floor. Radiating outward in 9-point. Spirals, I log. Object impervious. Internal voices audible only to command. Energy field stable. Partial containment but no retrieval possible. The ashwind dies for a moment, Silence. We all feel it. Our hearts slow. The hum rises. IXIX. Each beat matches our pulses. I check my wrist monitor. Heart rate of every squad member exactly the same. 63 beats per minute, rising and falling in unison with the casket. They shift uneasily. One sister reaches for her aquila. Her hand trembles. I give the sign of the Emperor, but my fingers feel heavy, moving with the rhythm. I kneel and press an auspex to the base of the casket. A low vibration crawls up my arm. On the screen appears a single line of text. Saint sleeps. Anchor prays. Then the display blanks and reboots. We withdraw to the perimeter, but the hum follows, faint but steady, like a tether. I dictate into the Vox. Kill Team Omega 9 encountered single black casket at impact site. No debris, no survivors. Object humming, IXIXIX. Voice of Junior Observator Dalthus Quirin, recorded internally reciting containment prayers. Female voice present, but untranslated. Casket impervious. Heartbeat synchronized. Partial containment confirmed. Retrieval impossible. The ash begins to fall upward like snow in reverse. The crater walls shimmer as though heat were rising though the air is cold. Our shuttle's engines struggle against unseen drag. The casket's hum deepens. Squad reports mild dizziness. I order immediate lift, but maintain audio feed. As we ascend, the casket shrinks to a dot, but the hum still vibrates in our bones. The synchronized heartbeat persists for 1 minute, 2, then 3, matching every pulse on the shuttle. We cross the crater's rim, and the ashwind resumes. Heart rates separate. The hum fades to a memory. I close my eyes, but still hear the containment prayer looping backward and forward in my head. Dalthus Quirin's voice steady, unbroken. Emperor, bind the breach. Emperor, bind the anchor. Emperor, seal the ninefold void. The female voice answers softly, a lullaby. The last thing our instruments record before losing contact. A faint green spiral spreading from the crater floor. A 9-point glyph expanding under the ash. Our shuttle's lumen flickers once in time with the pulse. I dictate final entry. Coordinates redacted. Mark world quarantined. Do not return. Anchor and Saint in stasis within object. Unknown duration. Casket's hum matched kill team heartbeats. End transmission static swells, then silence. Begin recovered Vox transcript. Ordo Hereticus, kill team Sigma 7, timestamp redacted. The shuttle descends through the ashen haze, and the surface of Lysandra 9 spreads beneath us like a field of scorched bones. The sensors report only minor gravimetric anomalies, yet the ash storms obscure nearly all optical readings. I switch to internal Vox recording. Interrogator Sergeant Vale, speaking. Initial coordinates match prior logs from Sanctus Orpheon. We touch down on the crater's rim. Our boots sink into a fine layer of white ash. Each step raises clouds that vanish as if swallowed by the air itself. At the crater's center, a single black casket sits upright, humming. Not a resonance detectable by instruments alone, but a vibration that sets our pulse in synchrony. I noted on the log, 9-9-9. Squad members glance at each other, unease evident beneath the filtered helmets. No hull fragments, no bodies, no signs of prior habitation remain. The cathedral hive is gone, reduced to this crater and the casket. I issue perimeter orders. Sweep sector, maintain formation. Sensors sweep the edges. The readings return null for life forms, yet faint warp distortions linger. The casket's hum increases as we approach. Each step toward it feels heavier, as though gravity itself is tethered to the object. I gesture for Magos Attaché Rail to extend his mechadendrites. He murmurs binharic queries. The casket responds with a pulse, subtle yet distinct. His auspex shows a spike in energy, concentrated in an unseen internal chamber. He collapses briefly, clutching his cranial conduits, murmuring, "Anchor, witness." Saint sleeps, repeatedly. We administer counterstims. He stabilizes but remains catatonic. I record the observation. Partial containment, but no retrieval feasible. The hum rises to match the cadence of our heartbeats. September 9th, September 9th, September 9th. Sister Hospitaller Lawn crouches near the rim, her gauntlet pressed against the ash. Her breathing is shallow, synchronized. I order her to stand. Her movements mirror my own, the pulse forcing a rhythm through muscle and bone. I step closer to the casket. The metal is colder than void, yet beneath the chill is a slow, living vibration, like a vein that breathes beneath the skin. I place my auspex at the base. The screen flashes a single line. Saint dormant. Witness active. Containment ongoing. Then the display blanks. I attempt manual interface. My gloves slide off the metal as if repelled by some invisible force. Raoul directs a cutting beam at the casket. The beam fractures into frost before contact. No seams, no hinges, nothing. Energy reroutes into the crater floor, forming 9-pointed spirals beneath the surface. I dictate. Object impervious. Internal voices audible to trained command only. Energy field stable. The squad holds formation. Ash rises in currents against the wind. Gravimetric fluctuations tug at our boots. I record their heart rates. 63 beats per minute, synchronized to the IXIXIX hum. My own pulse matches it precisely. I note, external sensors detect no anomaly, yet the internal experience is undeniable. I attempt to open the casket again. Physical contact is resisted. The vibration penetrates my gauntlet, through my forearm, to my chest. The hum intensifies. In my head, I hear Junior Observator Dalthus Quirin's voice, reciting containment prayers. Emperor, bind the breach. Emperor, bind the anchor. Emperor, seal the ninefold void. The cadence is backward, then forward, layered atop a softer female voice, lyrical, untranslated. Only I perceive this. Squad members continue their sweep. No one else reacts. I order full recording, all channels. I log every syllable, every pulse. The green spectral energy spirals upward beneath the casket, faintly visible in low-light filters. Magos Rael, stabilized by counterstims, repeats, Saint sleeps. Anchor witnesses, 9-9-9. His voice is hoarse but steady. I document partial containment confirmed, retrieval impossible. Ash begins to flow upward in subtle currents. Crater walls shimmer like heat, though the air is freezing. The squad reports mild dizziness, nausea. Shuttle engines strain against unknown drag forces. I maintain audio feed. The casket shrinks visually as we ascend, yet the hum persists in bones and chest cavity. Heartbeats desynchronize slowly as distance increases. The voice of Dalthus continues in my mind, a constant loop, reciting prayers in tandem with the 999 rhythm. I close my eyes. The female voice weaves beneath it, a lullaby impossible to translate, soothing and terrible. Shuttle lifts from the crater rim. Ash storms resume normal descent patterns. Heart rates return to baseline, pulse divergence recorded. The hum remains a memory, but echoes faintly with each heartbeat. I dictate final log, coordinates redacted, site quarantined indefinitely, object contains anchor and saint, duration unknown. Partial containment verified, retrieval impossible, hum synchronized with kill team heartbeats prior to extraction. All recordings uploaded to Sigma 7 Vault, kill team debrief pending, squad ordered to stand by. No further approach to crater until new directives issued. We depart Lysandra 9 orbit, shuttle engines cutting through the ashen winds. Data logs confirm energy field is active, object impervious, internal prayers continue. Observation. Anchor remains, Saint dormant, object stable. Kill team Sigma 7 extraction complete. End transmission. Begin classified note. Redacted clearance. Ordo Hereticus, level Omega. Observation initiated 12 weeks post-recovery of Sigma 7 kill team. Data feeds across astropathic relay channels indicate anomalous resonance consistent with IXIXIX patterns. Reported initially as isolated echoes, the hum now propagates sector-wide. All Auspex readings calibrated for warp stability detect recursive harmonic distortions. Vessels report reversed hymns through Vox channels. Sensor logs confirm anomalies. Choir servitors aboard the monitoring cruiser, Calix Pharos, record canticles playing backward, faintly, through every speaker. Vox implants audibly reversing phrasing. I document. Temporal inversion localized yet perceptible over light hours. Duration indeterminate. Astropathic feedback loops display faint visual hallucinations of St. Praxedes' visage across screens. Her lips move independently of any input. Further, archival records correlate to prior registry of her reliquary locations. Every shrine or reliquary where Praxedes' relics rested exhibits petroleum-like oozing from statues and icons, metallic in smell, viscosity variable, coating both stone and flesh effigies. Witness reports, minor personnel nausea, low-grade paranoia, compulsive murmuring of sequences, 9-9-9. The hum, now omnipresent in sector telemetric reports, causes subtle synchronization of heart rates aboard monitoring vessels. Captain's log, Calix Pharos. Crew unconsciously mimicking cadence, Auspex readings stable but unnerving. I note visual anomalies in classified footage. Statues formerly inert now drip black liquid. Servitors in nearby shrines pause mid-routine, tilting heads in unison toward invisible resonance source. My own sensory interface detects pulses within cranial cortex, akin to mild psychotremor. I record as continuous line graph, confirming systemic propagation. The 9-9-9 pattern extends across warp sense channels. Unshielded psychers experience minor vertigo, some fainting in repeated waves. I cross-reference with previous containment logs. Black casket remains intact. No physical extraction possible. Hum persists at identical frequency recorded during Sigma-7 retrieval. Observation. Witness and saint remain unified, existing as one biopsychic entity within the casket. Intermittent recordings indicate ambient vox feeds now carry dual-voiced canticles. One male, one female, both tracing unknown liturgical patterns resembling pre-Horus heresy rites. Harmonics incompatible with current ecclesiarchal doctrine. Security note. All live feeds require real-time mental dampeners. Unprotected personnel exposed for more than 30 seconds report hallucinations of inverted cathedrals, inverted gravity, bone towers forming transiently within hollow fields. Observed phenomenon. Auroral activity on distant shrine worlds mirrors 999 sequence in luminous arcs. Chronosync to casket, hum confirmed. Commander report. Bridge crew notes unnatural synesthesia. Color perception shifts with auditory pulses, spatial awareness distorted. Astronavigation continues, yet caution. Standard warp calculations fail intermittently. Minor spatial anomalies appearing around the sectors historically associated with Praxedes relics. Satellite arrays detect faint energy spirals identical to IXIXIX glyphs. Unable to trace origin. Classified orders pending. No physical approach permitted. All personnel advised to maintain minimum safe distance. Deploy psychic dampeners. Continue observation-only protocols. Sensory impressions recorded directly from observation officers' neural implants. Pervasive metallic scent akin to burnt incense. Faint auditory whispers layered under normal engine hum. Visual artifacts of blackened statues bleeding viscous oil at previously documented relic sites. Field reports indicate vessel hulls themselves emit micro-resonant vibrations matching IXIXIXIX pattern. Structural analysis shows minor but cumulative metal fatigue on long-term exposure. Psychological effects on crew. Compulsive synchronization to hum. Loss of private thought in affected zones. Partial memory recall interference. Standard mem blocks applied. Data logs indicate repeatable pattern formation across multiple vessels. Archive summary. Witness remains physically inside casket. Saint unified in form. Activity extends to external environment through warp resonance, audibly detectable across light years in attuned psychers. Classified recommendation: continued observation mandatory, no further interaction until new containment protocols established. Personnel rotated to avoid long-term exposure. Final visual report: remote observation of Shrine World Lyricus Prime. Night-side auroras align perfectly into 999 glyph pattern. Population unaware, biosphere unaffected, atmospheric readings nominal. Secondary note: Vox feeds report faint, echoing singing, male and female voices, harmonizing across frequencies impossible for standard psychers to detect unaided. The song appears to emanate from void itself. The singing intensifies during warp convergence periods. Minor stellar distortions noted in gravimetric sensors during peak resonance. I annotate: the terror is no longer contained. It has extended beyond immediate sector. All logs from Sigma 7, including initial transcript, integrated into predictive warp models. Real-time analysis indicates the IX pattern may continue indefinitely, propagating via psychic, auditory, and perhaps material channels. Recommendation: update all kill team doctrine. Contain, observe, do not attempt physical retrieval. Further human witnesses risk unification with Saint, potential for indefinite warp entanglement. Final classified observation: I perceive hum internally without recording device. It is in my chest, in my temples, in every heartbeat. I close eyes. The auroras of Lyricus Prime spell 9-9-9 across the night sky. The hum resonates through void and flesh alike. The witness and the saint are one. They sing from the void. Transmission ends.